She thought her wedding would be the perfect start to a new life until her own sister stole the spotlight with a shocking announcement. But when the truth behind the happy news finally came out, the family's picture-perfect world shattered overnight. Betrayal, exposure, and revenge all collided in one unforgettable celebration, and by the end, no one would ever look at them the same way again. Will you side with the bride or the sister when you learn what really happened behind the scenes? I had been planning my wedding for 2 full years. Not just picking colors or tasting cakes, I mean obsessively, down to the last satin napkin fold. I wanted it to be perfect. Not extravagant. Just mine. One day that belonged to me, where everything was in its place. Where I wasn't second to anyone. Especially not my sister, Claire. Growing up, Claire was the star. Blonde, bubbly, always smiling wide for the camera. My parents used to joke that she came out of the womb ready to pose. She was a natural people pleaser, charming, loud, magnetic. And exhausting. I was quieter. A planner. The kind of kid who made chore charts for fun. I never minded being the boring one. I liked having my own space. But the older we got, the more I realized something: Claire didn't just like attention. She needed it. She'd find ways to spin every situation into a spotlight. Graduations, birthdays, even funerals, she somehow made them about her. And people let her. Because Claire knew how to be captivating. She could cry on cue. She knew how to get sympathy. And she always had a story ready. I kept the peace. That was my role. The mature one. The one who gave up the last cookie, who let Claire borrow my clothes, who smiled when she posted old prom photos with the caption, "I look like such a mess next to Isla face with tears of joy." But this wedding? This was going to be different. I booked a vineyard 2 hours outside the city. Intimate, elegant, exactly my vibe. No over-the-top glam. Just crisp white linens, soft string lights, and 85 people who meant something to me. Including Claire. I asked her to be my maid of honor, because despite everything, she was my sister. And I kept telling myself, this isn't about old wounds. This is about starting fresh. The morning of the wedding, everything felt surreal. Hair and makeup started early. My dress zipped up perfectly. My dad cried when he saw me. I felt beautiful. For once, I felt seen. And Claire? Claire kept checking her phone. She was jittery, distracted. When I asked if she was okay, she gave me this tight smile and said, "Of course." Just excited. I brushed it off. Maybe she was nervous for me. Maybe, just this once, she'd let someone else take center stage. The ceremony was everything I'd dreamed. My husband, God, even saying that still gives me chills, looked at me like I was the only person on earth. We said our vows under a canopy of trees while the sun dipped low in the sky. The air smelled like lavender and champagne. After the I-dos, we took photos while guests headed to the cocktail hour. I could hear music drifting from the courtyard, clinking glasses, laughter. But when we walked in, something felt off. People were smiling too widely. Whispering. Some of the older cousins were crying. And not in a wedding tears way. A few guests rushed up to hug me, but then immediately turned to Claire. "Congratulations! So happy for you. Oh my God, a baby?" I froze. A baby? I looked at Claire. She was standing near the head table, radiant in blush pink, surrounded by a crowd. And in her hands, she was holding ultrasound photos. For a second, I honestly thought I was hallucinating. Maybe it was the adrenaline. The champagne. The surreal high of just having walked down the aisle and signed a marriage license. But no, the photos were real. Clear as day, black and white images of a developing fetus. Claire was waving them around like a winning lottery ticket. I approached slowly. My husband, Mark, squeezed my hand, confused. "Did she just say baby?" he whispered. "I think so," I muttered, trying to keep my smile frozen in place. Aunts I hadn't seen in years were crowding around Claire, touching her belly, cooing like she was some kind of divine vessel. She's glowing. When are you due? Such perfect timing. Perfect timing? Claire caught my eye. For a moment, her expression flickered like she'd forgotten I existed. Or maybe she was hoping I'd stay across the room. But I didn't. I walked right up, just in time to hear her say, "It wasn't planned or anything, I swear." People just kept asking why I wasn't drinking, and it kind of slipped out. Slipped out. Right. And the ultrasound photos in her purse? That just accidentally ended up on display at the head table? I didn't say anything. I just looked at her. And she smiled at me. "Isla," she said, like we were best friends at a brunch. "This night is so magical. Isn't it?" I nodded. I felt numb. The guests started taking photos with her. Someone even handed her a second glass of sparkling water for the baby. I watched as my maid of honor, my sister, became the centerpiece of my wedding reception in under 10 minutes. The photographer I'd hired, who I spent weeks choosing, was now snapping candids of Claire and her husband. They were posing with her hand on her stomach. I saw one of my college friends, who flew in from out of state, take a selfie with Claire and caption it, "Two big announcements today." I felt my stomach twist. Mark leaned in. "Do you want me to say something?" "No," I whispered. "Not yet." I needed to think. I needed to breathe. The rest of the cocktail hour passed in a blur. People congratulated me out of politeness, but their eyes kept drifting to Claire. Some even pulled me aside to say how amazing it was that I was starting my marriage the same time Claire starts motherhood. As if we were some coordinated act. By the time we were seated for dinner, I felt invisible. I looked down the long reception table. Claire was seated just a few chairs away, laughing, one hand delicately resting on her belly like she was protecting royalty. Her husband looked pale. Sweaty. But he kept nodding along. That's when I realized something wasn't right between them. He barely made eye contact with her. He didn't touch her once. And when their shoulders brushed, he flinched slightly. I remembered something then. 2 months before the wedding, I'd seen Claire at a cafe with someone who wasn't her husband. It wasn't overt, but there was a closeness. A tension. Back then, I pushed the thought away. I didn't want to deal with drama before the wedding. But now? Now I wondered if I should have paid more attention. Later that night, while the entree plates were being cleared, Claire started tapping her glass with a fork. That high-pitched clink-clink-cling that means one thing at weddings. She wanted to make a toast. And I swear to God, my pulse stopped. Claire stood up slowly, like she was soaking in every second of attention. People turned to look. Phones came out, because of course they did. When Claire had something to say, the world listened. And tonight, apparently, they documented. I felt Mark's hand tighten around mine under the table. He knew what this moment meant. That she was about to fully hijack the night. Not by accident. Not passively. But publicly. She tapped the glass one last time, then lifted it with both hands. "If I could just say a quick few words," she began, smiling as her voice carried through the soft music and clatter of forks. "I just wanted to thank Isla and Mark," she said, turning to us with that performative warmth she'd perfected in every Christmas card since Instagram became her job. "This whole day has been breathtaking. Truly. You two are perfect for each other." I nodded. My face probably looked carved out of stone. Claire kept going. "And weddings like this," she laughed lightly, "they bring people together. Not just the couple, but the whole family." A few people murmured in agreement. I could feel the subtle buzz of tension humming beneath the laughter. She glanced at her husband, who looked like he was aging in real time, then continued. "So I thought, what better moment than now, when we're surrounded by so much love, to share our own happy news?" I felt the world slow. Claire placed a hand on her stomach. People gasped, though most already knew. "We're expecting," she said, beaming. "It's still early, but we couldn't keep it in. Not tonight." Not when everything feels so full of joy. The crowd erupted. Applause. Cheers. My mom actually stood to clap. And me? I sat there, smiling, swallowing my rage like it was dry wedding chicken. Claire had done it. She'd stolen my wedding. And the worst part? No one thought she was wrong. Not even after she lifted her glass and said, "So let's raise a toast to love, to family, and to the new life growing inside me. Thank you, Isla, for bringing us all together for this beautiful baby announcement." That's when I knew. She didn't just blurt it out earlier. She planned this. She brought the photos. She picked her moment. She hijacked my day with the precision of someone who'd spent her entire life knowing she could get away with anything. I felt something in me crack. But still, I didn't shout. I didn't scream. I simply stood, picked up my own glass, and smiled right back at her. To Claire, I said clearly, raising my voice just enough to carry. And the new life she's bringing into the world. She smiled wider, waiting for the praise. Even if it's not her husband's. The room fell silent. Not quiet. Not confused. Just dead. Forks hit plates. A bridesmaid gasped. My uncle's mouth actually dropped open like a cartoon. Claire's smile twisted, just for a second. Her eyes flicked toward her husband, who now looked like he might throw up into the centerpiece. I didn't say another word. I just raised my glass, took a sip, and sat down. The silence didn't end right away. It hung, thick and stifling, in the air for what felt like forever. Then came the murmurs. Quick, whispered questions. Someone near the back let out a nervous laugh, like maybe I was joking. But I wasn't. I picked up my fork and calmly started eating again. The salmon was cold, but I didn't care. I needed something to keep my hands busy while the chaos bloomed around me. Claire didn't sit down. She just stood there, frozen, her hands still awkwardly hovering over her stomach like she wasn't sure if she should keep up the act. Her husband, Ethan, finally broke. He didn't yell. He didn't storm out. He just leaned close to her and whispered something through clenched teeth. Then he pushed his chair back and left the table. Not the room. Just the table. He went to the bar and ordered a double of something amber and dark, downing it in one smooth tilt. I watched all of it. Claire stood there for another 10 seconds, blinking like someone had just unplugged her from reality. Then, without saying a word, she sat down. Her cheeks flushed deep pink. The eyes were still on her, but now they weren't adoring. They were wary. Curious. Some even suspicious. I knew what they were thinking. Could it be true? Could Perfect Claire, the Pinterest mom, the family influencer, the one who just 2 weeks ago posted a Sunday Snuggles photo with Ethan and captioned it "grateful for this man every day," really be hiding something? I didn't need to answer that. Not yet. The rest of the dinner dragged on, but the vibe had shifted. Conversations quieted. People looked over their shoulders. The toasts from the best man and maid of honor never happened. Claire had lost her moment. So she sat there, picking at her food, smiling too tightly, trying to reoxygenate the atmosphere with nervous giggles and fake cheer. She leaned over once and hissed, "What the hell is wrong with you?" I didn't look at her. I just whispered, "I know." Her mouth clamped shut. Later that night, after the dancing started and the older guests trickled out, I slipped away. I needed air. Not just fresh air, but distance. I walked the gravel path behind the vineyard, where lanterns hung low from the trees. Mark followed quietly. "You okay?" he asked. I stopped walking and turned to him. "I hired a PI," I said. He blinked. "What?" 3 weeks ago. Claire was acting weird. Disappearing. Showing up late to planning meetings. Posting cryptic captions. I knew something was off. So I hired someone to follow her. Discreetly. Mark stared at me. "And?" "She's been having an affair," I said. 4 months. Not just flirty texts. Full-on hotel rooms, secret meetings, different city. He exhaled. Jesus. Guess who it is? He didn't answer. My ex, I said. The one who ghosted me 5 years ago after our engagement ended. Mark's jaw tightened. He was at the wedding, by the way. Sitting at table 8. Claire invited him. Said it would be healing. I laughed. But it wasn't happy. I wasn't going to say anything, I admitted. I wanted to keep the peace. Let her have her perfect image. But then she stood up. At my wedding. And made my reception about her. About a lie. Mark reached for my hand. Do you have proof? He asked. I looked him dead in the eye. I have everything. After that, we went back inside like nothing had happened. That's what weddings do. They move forward. Music plays, people dance, and emotions get swept under centerpieces and linen napkins. But the atmosphere was cracked now, like a perfect cake with a hairline split running down the middle. Claire didn't dance once. She stayed seated, sipping water, her posture too upright, her smile too tight. Her friends circled her like anxious bridesmaids trying to plug a sinking ship. Her phone buzzed non-stop. I caught glimpses of messages from names I didn't recognize, and one from Ethan that just said, "We need to talk now." Guests avoided eye contact with me. They weren't sure what had just happened, and that's exactly how I wanted it. Let them wonder. Let the pieces float around in their heads, almost forming a full picture. Because the truth wasn't going to come out that night. No, that would have been too easy. Too explosive. I didn't want a scene. I wanted a legacy. Claire had built her life online brands, followers, adoring fans who believed she was the embodiment of maternal glow and domestic bliss. She sold motherhood like it was a lifestyle package, matching pajamas, pastel smoothies, curated chaos. But I knew what was behind it. I had the texts. The hotel receipts. The photos. The time-stamped locations. Even the one photo where she's laughing in the arms of a man who was very clearly not her husband, his hands under her coat, her mouth on his neck. I'd held onto that folder for 3 weeks. Now I was just deciding how to drop it. The wedding wound down. Mark and I danced to one slow song before our send-off. We walked through a tunnel of sparklers, pretending to be the stars of the evening while the guests half smiled, their minds somewhere else entirely. It was perfect. As the driver pulled away, Mark reached into the cooler in the limo and handed me a mini bottle of champagne. To the bride, he said, clinking his against mine. To new beginnings, I replied. He took a sip, then said, "Are you really going to do it?" I pulled out my phone. Opened the blog I'd started privately a week before. The title, Behind the Glow. A play on Claire's influencer handle, @LifeInTheGlow. I smiled. She made her announcement at my wedding, I said. I'll make mine on Monday morning. He laughed under his breath, shaking his head. You're terrifying. Only when I need to be. We got to the hotel and checked in. I slipped out of my dress, hung it neatly, and crawled into bed. While Mark ordered room service, I uploaded the first 3 images to the blog draft. Then I added a few lines from her text messages. No commentary. Just the facts. That was the plan, let her words speak for themselves. I wouldn't tag her. Wouldn't even link her account. I didn't need to. All it would take was one person from that wedding to find it. And they would. Because if there's one thing people love more than a wedding, it's a scandal. The blog post went live at 7:02 a.m. on Monday morning. I didn't promote it. I didn't share the link. I didn't even log into my personal socials. But by 8:30, it had over 6,000 views. By 10 o'clock, Claire's name was trending in a local mom group on Facebook. Someone had screen recorded the post before it could be taken down. Someone else cross-posted it to Reddit with the title "Family Influencer's Dirty Secret Revealed by Her Own Sister." By noon, a major brand, one she'd partnered with just a week before, released a statement saying they were pausing all collaborations while conducting an internal review. And that was just the beginning. People love an aesthetic, but they adore a downfall. By dinner, someone had found the exact hotel in the background of one of the photos. Another user compared timestamps to her family picnic vlog and matched the outfit she was wearing in the affair photo to the day she had posted snuggling with baby bump, feeling so loved. The hypocrisy wasn't just exposed. It was devoured. Claire tried to get ahead of it. She posted a crying selfie on her stories. Big, shaky text, "I never wanted this to be public. Please respect our privacy as we navigate this incredibly difficult time." But it was too late. Ethan moved out that night. By Tuesday, her comments were off. By Wednesday, she posted a black square with a caption about mental health. By Thursday, she deleted everything. And through it all, I didn't say a word. Not publicly. Not even in the family group chat, which had gone nuclear. My mom called me sobbing. Said she didn't understand how I could do something so cruel. I told her, gently, I didn't lie. Claire did. She hung up. My dad didn't call. He just texted, "That was cold, Isla." But not wrong. I screenshotted it. That weekend, Mark and I finally went on our honeymoon. We sat on a balcony in Greece with glasses of wine and watched the waves crash below us while the family chat pinged nonstop. Cousins taking sides. Someone said Claire was suing. Someone else said Ethan filed first. I muted the thread and kissed my husband. "Did you ever think it would blow up like this?" he asked. "No," I said. "But I hoped." He laughed. "You're dangerous." I smiled into my glass. "Not dangerous," I said. "Just done being quiet." We stayed off our phones for most of the honeymoon, but when I finally scrolled through the fallout, I couldn't help feeling a strange sense of peace. Not joy, just relief. My wedding had been taken from me, but my silence hadn't bought me respect all those years. It had only bought Claire another opportunity. For the first time, the truth had done the talking. Claire's influencer contracts disappeared in a week. Sponsors quietly scrubbed her from their pages. One magazine edited her Motherhood Glow feature into an apology about their commitment to family values. Her friends, at least the ones who weren't using her for clout, stopped returning her texts. Some even shared supportive but shocked statements online, desperate to distance themselves. The family group chat was still a minefield. My mom refused to talk to me. My dad texted a list of lawyers, like that would fix anything. Extended relatives took turns speculating about the next chapter and how Claire might rebuild her brand. No one asked if I was okay. But I didn't need them to. On our last night in Greece, I sat beside Mark on a stone wall overlooking the sea, the air sweet with jasmine. For the first time in years, I felt still, like maybe I didn't have to orchestrate every detail to be happy. Maybe just being honest was enough. Mark wrapped his arm around me. "You know, I think you gave Claire exactly what she always wanted." I turned to him, confused. "What?" He smiled. "You made her the main character. Just not in the story she thought she was in." I laughed, loud and free, letting the sound echo into the night. By the time we returned home, my wedding day was ancient history in group chats and gossip threads. But for me, it was something more, a line I'd drawn, finally, between keeping the peace and keeping my dignity.